Wife shares her experience and a struggle with alcoholism, going from what seemed like a happy marriage to consuming alcohol after what it sounds like she didn't do for a while and waking up in a bed with another man. Now, this video comes from Rise Above with Kevin Lanning. I notice they bring guests on their channel who deal with and have overcome addiction. And in this video, I'd like to focus on her husband, who she talks about. Particularly, I want to focus on how men don't take certain things into consideration when they choose a wife, and how a lot of men could have avoided red flags that were ignored, obviously, here in this situation. No more wasting time. Let's check it out.
My alcoholism is like this heat-seeking missile. And if I don't feed it with recovery, I will find something physical to give it.
Another symptom.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, what I was using was healthy things, but like exercise, but anything to that extreme is not healthy, right? And so I started to really feel that again, even though we were super involved with the church, I had this amazing marriage, a man that really loved me. I graduated and I get this really good job. And the first weekend that I am on staff, they send me to the sales conference, and I get there and it's like a full bar. And I'm like, it's been a while since I drank. Everyone here is drinking, no big deal. And I get blackout and I have the time of my life, and I'm drinking with everyone else. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, it's acceptable. I'm okay. I haven't, no consequences. I didn't really tell my husband. Like, I just said we had a few drinks. He was not super stoked, but like nothing really happened.
Right.
But what I didn't realize is that I had lit that allergy on fire. And it was just, I picked up right where I left off, and I started hiding alcohol when I got home from traveling. I would ask to travel more because I could have that secret life. Right. One night we were at a sales conference and we were all down at the bar. I was totally blackout drunk. I don't even remember how I got to where I did. And then I wound up in another man's bed.
And so you guys have probably caught on by now that this is something that she'd been dealing with, right? This struggle with alcoholism. And here she is. She decided to start drinking again and ended up in another man's bed. She cheated on her husband. Let's talk about the sponsor of this channel, fathershaverights.com. Engaged and soon to be married men, a single prenup slip up can cost you tens of thousands later. Waiting until the last minute or signing under pressure are the mistakes that sink most agreements. My step-by-step guide at fathershaverights.com, built with expert attorneys James Sexton and the lead attorney, shows you exactly how to avoid every costly prenup mistake, all for the price of a couple of coffee dates. Tap the link pinned to the top of the comment section to safeguard your future and join the hundreds of soon-to-be husbands protecting their marriages the right way.
And I was
You were
like,
married.
yes. And I was like, okay, now this is an issue because I loved my husband, and there had been no consequences before that. But this was like, I didn't mean for this to happen, right? Like, I have an incredible marriage. Why on earth would I sacrifice? I mean, and so I actually went home and told him and was like, I up, and I'm so sorry. This will never happen again. And we went through counseling. I mean, he was rocked, as he should be. And he was like, okay, like, let's work on it. He's like, but you got to stop drinking. And that didn't even cross my mind. I was like, I have to stop drinking. What do you mean? Like, okay, but zero intention to actually do it because I didn't connect the two. I just thought I didn't eat enough that day, right? Like, I blacked out because I was drinking vodka on an empty stomach, not like that I might actually have a drinking problem. And so even though I had done like one of the most atrocious things I'd ever done and was not in alignment with the woman that I wanted to be, alcoholism was winning. And I didn't know that I had alcoholism. I was just telling myself, oh, I just didn't get a chance to party enough and in college, right?
Right.
Like these are my wild oats that I'm sowing. I didn't mean to like be sowing them that way, but I just thought these are, I'm getting it out of my system. I had no idea, like there's not a million drinks in the world that would get it out of my system, right? Because with alcoholism, when I drink, my appetite for alcohol only intensifies. It's never satisfied.
Okay. So most people look at this, you're like, okay, you're blaming alcohol for your cheating. I know people go through addictions, and that's not what I want to focus on, right? Most people are going to look at this. And even if you are a man who says, hey, I was drunk, there's no excuse at the end of the day. At the end of the day, there is no excuse for that type of behavior. Now, could you have a problem? Yes, that could be part of it, but there's no excuse. Now, that doesn't mean, because people don't understand, someone may look, say, wow, you wanted to work through that? Some people do. Some people do work through that. I have a different perspective here that I do want to share. I don't think, and I'm focused on the men here, for men who value long-term relationships, for men who value marriage in our modern day, I don't think that men are selfish enough. Shisha, what do you mean? Well, there are certain things that I think a lot of men hear and they don't realize are huge red flags. Chances are this man knew that she had an alcohol problem and probably stopped drinking because she decided, hey, I don't want alcohol to control my life. And he said, well, that's great. And he looked at that and said, cool, you have changed. You're heading in a good direction. It will never happen again. And boy, was he wrong. A lot of people aren't going to like what I'm about to say. And I think the reason they're not going to like what I'm about to say is because I'm saying it to men. Because if a woman said, hey, you don't want to marry someone who has a history of this, and that, and they were talking to a woman, people would applaud and say, yes, girl, know your worth. Men don't get this type of advice very often. Someone will marry somebody who has addictions and struggles to this extent with alcohol or drugs. My message to the men who are listening to this is it doesn't have to be you. It doesn't. Hence me saying men need to be more selfish about the women who they associate themselves with. Because a lot of dudes have this idea that they want to rescue a woman and, I'm going to fix her. I'm going to, change this thing about her. She's different now. While she may be choosing to make better decisions in her life or trying to be better, it does not mean that she's still not struggling with that thing, no matter what it is, right? This goes with the chick who's like, hey, I used to strip. I just want to be honest with you. Are you okay with that? Or I used to be a cheater, perpetual cheater, right? I just did a video of a woman talking about how she was addicted to affairs. Now, keep in mind, both of these women are married now. This woman, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and also the woman who was addicted to affairs, she got a husband. But I don't think men really realize that when a woman tells you she has these problems, those will become your problems. And this poor guy was put through hell, it sounded like, from this point on. Let's keep listening.
So as time goes on, I end up doing it again and doing it again. And I was like, I guess I shouldn't be married, was what I said to myself. Not, I shouldn't drink. How wild is that? And so
wild.
I didn't tell him, I felt so much guilt, so much shame. I would come home, I would be sneaking alcohol. I would be at a point where I was just totally disconnected from the marriage because I was like, dude, I'm literally a piece of shit. Like, this is a man who loves me so much, who doesn't deserve this. And so I just said, hey, you just need to divorce me.
And still initiated divorce.
I think that I have some things I need to handle.
Do you think your disease of alcoholism subtly sabotaged on your own that marriage so that he would end it with you?
Yes, 100%. I also look back. I mean, I was 20 years old, right? I grew up in a home that my parents did the best they could, but I didn't really know how to love myself. I mean, I basically went from my dad's house to living with my husband, right? There's not a lot of self like love and development that can happen in that span of time. And so I think that I convinced myself that I made the wrong decision to get married so young. And then I had all these other actions in the background to kind of back it up. And then I just made it very easy for him because I just started to do more and more. And he's like, I mean, it was awful. He finally granted me the divorce.
Yeah.
We had 2 mortgages.
Wow.
We had this incredible life. We had moved to the mountains to like get me out of the environment that I was in.
Wow.
And
because it's a geo, right? You got to move. It's not the drinking. It's
right. It's never
your
the
environment.
drinking.
I mean, oh my goodness. Are you guys listening to this? Instead of thinking to yourself, it's time to divorce this woman, it's time to let her go, he could not let her go, which at this point, this was his fault. She's cheated what it sounds like multiple times. And they resort to moving her to the mountains out in the middle of nowhere. He's like, I'll take you out of the city to stop you from cheating. Why put yourself through this?
And then within 6 months, I'm running a business. I have zero. I'm not qualified to be there, but God always puts me in these places that I'm not qualified. I'm running a business. I have staff. I'm doing cocaine with my clients. So it is now like super escalated. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, I don't understand that the disease that I think is just sowing my wild oats from college is actually a fatal progressive disease that wants me dead, but will settle for me drunk and high. And so he gives me the divorce and all bets are off now. I'm like, I'm going and I was pretty pissed at God because I had what I thought changed my life, been in a position of faith and loyalty and had this spiritual experience. What the heck, God? I've seen people get radically healed right in front of me. I've seen people be able to walk who haven't. So what? Did you forget about me? Did you miss me? Do I have this thing that you forgot about? Am I not really the person I think I am? Are you not real? And so I was just like, all right, fuck it. You know, I'm going to do all the things that I think I need to do to get it out of my system.
Mercy. You guys can go obviously listen to the rest of this interview. I do want to play the second part where she talks about apologizing to her husband after she put him through this.
We make our lists of who we're willing to make an amends to. We have oh yeah, no problem. This one's going to be tough. And then no, never. I can't face that person. It's going to be awful. Right. He was on that list. And so at 2 years, me and my sponsor start checking him off and he was, at the top. So I reach out to him. He sends me his phone number. He says, yeah, give me a call. I was like, okay. So I call him. I said, hey, I'm not sure if you're open, but I would love to meet you face to face. Really trying to, right the wrongs of my past. And it would be really important to me if we can meet for 5-10 minutes. That's it. And he said, let me call my wife. I'll call you back. I was like, okay. I almost threw up. I called my sponsor. I was like, now what? Now what do I do? She's like, you wait for him to call you back. And I was like, what if he says he wants to meet me? She's like, you go and meet him. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. This is the worst. He calls me back. He said, yeah, for sure. We're open to it. You can meet me. I'm still in the mountain town that we lived in Colorado. I was like, okay, I'm in California, but I'll come to you. When is convenient? He's like, how about Thursday? I was like, done. So I book a flight, drive from DIA. I think I rent a car, drive up to the mountains. I want to throw up. I want to drive off a cliff this entire time. This is awful. There's so much. Ugh. But my sponsor says, what doesn't get repaired gets repeated. And I remembered the way that I treated him. And I remember waking up and all those mornings and I'm just I did it again, feeling I never, because that's not who I am. I'm incredibly loyal. I have been sober 10 years. I've never cheated. I've never even gotten close to cheating. Right.
Yeah.
But there was so much more work that needed to be done. I mean, I was so naive. And anyways, she just said, do you ever want to put yourself in that position or another man in that position? I said, never. She said, all right, get up there. So I met him. And my biggest fear was what if I'm still in love with him? What if he's What if there's so much unresolved, like what if I don't know. And so we met at a coffee shop and it was closed. And so we sat outside and
I'm surprised that he actually met with her, you know, because at that point you could, no one would blame the guy for being like, honestly, I appreciate it, but I'm good. You just wouldn't.
I just said, I'm so sorry. I never, ever meant to hurt you the way that I did. And I know that I hurt you. And I regret my behavior. And I know that I caused so much harm. And I never once blamed it on the alcohol, because it's not the alcohol, it's me. And I said, if there's anything I can do to right my wrongs, I'm here to do that.
Okay.
And he gave it to me for a minute. Like, I left him with 2 mortgages.
Damn.
His credit was fucked for a while. I mean, he gave me he said what he needed to say, right? And he wasn't wrong. And he said, but ultimately me and my wife have been praying for your sobriety, and
Wow.
the best thing you can do is stay sober.
Amen. Listen, he had to be Christian. Only God calls you to do the impossible. I didn't want to say it, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe he was a Christian, believes in God, and he felt like, hey, this is the Christian thing to do. And now I understand. And to people who don't, believe in the gospel and the Bible, that just all sounds ridiculous. That's it. Now, I do want to be clear about my conclusion here, guys. I think, and this is especially in the church too, man, so many men go through things and they think to themselves, I was supposed to go through that hell, right? Or they'll look at somebody who they even may find in the church and think, oh, they're here. That maybe this is something that happened in the past and they're over it. They may not be. So I would encourage you to be really particular about the person you choose to spend the rest of your life with if you're somebody who values marriage in our modern day. You have to take all things into consideration. Someone's past, someone's family, who they are as an individual, right? And you have to ask yourself, do I want to deal with that? And I think why this is such an uncomfortable thing to say to men is because most people think that as a man, you should rescue the woman who has this going on, or the daddy issues, or the addiction, or the ex-stripper, or this and that. Oh, Chisha, do you think that you're perfect? No. It's not about being perfect. And nobody is. It's about choosing what you're willing to go through and deal with in life. And far too many men, especially in the church, go in there and find these broken women and think that they're going to fix them, or things are just going to work out. Beware, that you're marrying that person's short-term and also long-term struggles as well. And if that's something you look at and you say, you know what, I'm okay with that, so be it. Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon to be married men, if you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.